Hello everyone. Today we will be discussing about modified Ising model of Barabasi Albert networks for gene-type spins. My name is Akash Deep and let's get started. Let's start with classical Ising model. It is a discrete pairwise interacting two-state systems which can successfully explain the structure and properties of ferromagnetic materials. This model can be characterized by two terms, the first term being the interaction of spins with the external magnetic field edge, and the other term is the interaction between the spins among themselves as characterized by summation only over its neighbors I and j. This interaction term also depends on the nature of j. If it's greater than 0, then it's ferromagnetic in nature, where spins prefer to align in the same direction, and if j is less than 0, the spin prefer to align in opposite direction, which is the antiferromagnetic configuration. The temperature also plays an important role here. The temperature basically increases the entropy of the system and hence the disorder. Now we come to Albert-Barabasi networks. These are the scale-free networks which have power law degree distributions. The degree distribution can be approximated as P of k is proportional to k power minus n. If we plot P of k versus k on a logarithmic scale, we see the straight line which indicate the exponential nature of the degree distribution. Albert-Barabasi networks can be described by two terms, growth and preferential attachment. Growth is when number of nodes increase over time, and preferential attachment is the probability of distribution of nodes such that when a new node has higher probability to join a node with a higher degree. For example, if you consider the last slide, the black dots are the existing node of the system and the white dot is a new node of the system. As white dot approaches, it has the higher probability to join a node which has higher degrees than a node which has a smaller degrees. Now we discuss the biological networks. Biological networks can be gene networks, protein networks, or neural networks, and these networks are thermodynamic systems. And it has been shown that biological networks can be approximated as scale-free topologies, and we will see later how this is implemented. Now we would see the analogy of phase transition in biological systems. As classical Ising model describes phase transition very well, it should be noted that this model, since we are replicating this model in the biological system, each parameter used should have corresponding analogy. The living system are open system and quasi steady state type equilibrium. This means they are in constantly interaction with the environment. These networks are in external perturbation which flips the control parameter and the state, leading to the phase transition. For the example of phase transition could be the transition between normal and disease state, the sudden release of hormones, the adrenaline rush. These are all phase transition. The sudden change in the property of the system. In Ising model, such a parameter is temperature or a magnetic field. You would see how the analogy of temperature and magnetic field is established here. This is the modified Ising model of gene-type spins in Albert-Barabasi network. The Hamiltonian still has two terms, interaction terms and the interaction with the magnetic field. However, there are two changes which are being made here. One is spin which do not have values -1 and +1 but 0 and 1, characterizing whether genes are active or inactive, and other change comes in the j. So j is jij, a matrix which is the multiplication of j, which is a scalar, to an adjacency matrix ij. So what adjacency matrix does? It captures the property of the network, what type of network it is. Here since we are using Albert-Barabasi networks, so given a node, the matrix aij will describe its connection to the other nodes. Now let's see the analogy of the parameters involved here. So the temperature now becomes the biological analog that increases the entropy of the system, and the magnetic field becomes something which increases the system energy. The scale-free topology, the Albert-Barabasi networks, get incorporated in the Ising model by the adjacency matrix aij, and we will see what is the expression for aij in the coming slide. Adjacency matrix in the Albert-Barabasi network at time tj is the probability at which the new node j will be linked to the another existing node I. It is given by m ki tj and upon sigma of k alpha. Here, let's define what's m. M is the number of preferential attached links. For example, if we have already 10 nodes existing in the system and the new nodes comes, we define to how many nodes a new node will connect with, which is called M. For example, it will connect with only 2 nodes of the existing system. Now, if we approximate the number of nodes to be very large, the average adjacency matrix over many realizations can be approximated as 1 upon 2 mn ki and kj, and this matrix is inserted in the Ising model in terms of jij. Now, let's focus on how to arrive at the solution of this model. Now, we use a mean field equation. This is to say, we define the overall spin of the entire system, which is called the average spin, and we consider small fluctuation around it. Now, SI can be written as SI, which is a small fluctuation around M, and similarly SJ, which is also a small fluctuation around M. If we plug in this expression into the H, the Hamiltonian, we get the following expression. Now, we could easily see that the interaction term has now disappeared, and instead we have something which correspond to the effective magnetic field. The effective magnetic field is H plus JMKI, and it has been shown in the research that effective magnetic field is linearly proportional to M, which is the preferential attached links, and J, which is the coupling constant. Now, in order to calculate the macroscopic thermodynamic quantities, we take the help of partition function. So, Z is the sum over all the possible state of the system, which is discovered by this expression, where E times E power minus beta, and this term is the Hamiltonian, which has already been described above. Now, the order parameter or spin is something which characterizes the overall order of the system. That is to say, whether the spins are perfectly aligned or they are oppositely aligned. So, order parameter captures this property of the system. It can be written as 1 upon n beta d ln z upon dh, and plugging the z into this expression, we get the M order parameter as this expression. Now, in the absence of the magnetic field, we could say that H is 0, and the order parameter can be written as this expression, where plus minus is when J is greater than 0, it is for ferromagnetic case, and when J is less than 0, it is for antiferromagnetic case. So, these are the result of order parameter with varying temperature. At very low temperature, we see order parameter as 1, which indicates the system is perfectly ordered. Since it is a ferromagnetic case, the spins will prefer to align in the same direction, and at the higher temperature, the disorder of the system increases and it becomes 0.5. We now see the relation how M varies with temperature for antiferromagnetic case. So, at very low temperature, the system will have absolutely 0 net spin. For every spin, there will be opposite aligned spin. Hence, they cancel each other out, and giving the net spin of the system 0. Order parameter is 0, and at the higher temperature, it's completely disordered, characterized by order parameter 0.5. We now see the variation of order parameter M with temperature for varying J. If we increase the value of J, it increases the reluctancy of the system to change when we increase the temperature. Hence, when we are increasing temperature, if we face difficulty to create disorder if the value of J is very large. This indicates the nodes are very well connected and strongly connected. Now, which is the results of order parameter M with temperature. Now, for increasing the value of temperature, again we see some reluctancy in the system when we increase the temperature, as indicated by this olive curve. Now, at a fixed temperature we could easily see the existence of the phase transition. This is the first order phase transition, where the order parameter suddenly flips from 0 to 1 at some critical magnetic field, and this phase transition exists for both ferromagnetic and antiferromagnetic case, as shown in the figure, for J equals to plus 1 and J equals to minus 1. Hence, we could conclude that the modified Ising model can be used to study phase transition in living systems owing to the influence of critical magnetic field. The critical magnetic field has already been shown, varies linearly with the preferential attached links M and the coupling constant J. The model can also be well directed for weighted networks. Here it is a basic model where we are using AB networks, and it can be further modified with additional information about the system. This model is also capable of predicting the existence of structurally or functionally organized clusters in a network. It is interesting to note that the dynamic of such systems depend more on the structure and the collective working than the specific details of the process. This is something which is very exciting, and if we have the further more information about the system, we could elicit more profound character of the system using these models. These are the references attached here, and thank you so much for watching this video.